City Council regular meeting to order at 7 PM. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Fahet,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lamas,
Here.
Councilman Santeen,
Here.
Councilman Dion,
Here.
Councilman Perez Crespo.
Here.
There is a quorum present.
Okay, please stand for the invocation led by Vice Mayor Orlando Lamas.
Dear God, as we gather for the city council meeting, we ask for your wisdom and clarity. May your Holy Spirit guide our discussion and decisions, ensuring that we serve the best interests of our community. Open our minds and hearts to new ideas and help us work with integrity. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Does anybody have, we move on, by the way, to agenda and order of business. Does anybody have anything from the consent agenda to pull for discussion? Okay,
I had a resident call me to ask me about 10B
okay.
and they just wanted some clarity.
So, okay, so we'll pull 10B. We'll pull 10B for discussion. And then does anybody have anything else on the agenda that they would like to move around? I don't think there's anything else really. All right, so having no other suggestions for moving things around on the agenda, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda moving 10B.
So move.
Okay, so we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Okay. We'll do that with the voice vote. All in favor of approving the agenda as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all against say no. Okay, so that moves forward. We move on to awards and presentations. We will begin with 5A, which is a presentation of the Arbor Day 2026 proclamation to the Public Works Department. So Juan is going to, do I read this to Juan or Juan's going to read it to the public? How do we do this? Juan, come on up. Why don't we go up there? Because as a matter of fact, we're gonna have quite a few things we're gonna present. So guys, why don't we go up? Juan, tell us why we're doing this proclamation. I know why, but I want to.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, every year we celebrate Arbor Day. And this year, we're celebrating Arbor Day, I believe it's the 24th. Yes, the 24th. At which point we will be planting nice yellow Poinciana and a live oak in two different locations. In order to celebrate the year. We've this year we've installed over 70 trees this year, and we still have another 100 to put in the ground, so. Awesome, it's all part of the.
Great, thank you. And thank you for your commitment to helping us get back to being a Tree City USA, and I know that this is part of that process. So I'll just read the hoopla. Actually, I don't need this because I'm wearing it, Mike. So it says, I, Walter Fahet, Mayor of the City of Miami Springs, do hereby proclaim that Friday, April 24th of this year will be Arbor Day in the City of Miami Springs, and I urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands, to support our city's community forestry program, and to plant trees to promote the well-being of present and future generations. So on this day, April 24th will be Arbor Day, so congratulations.
And we invite anybody that wishes to attend the ceremony to be with us on that day.
Can you share the locations? Of
We
where
will,
the
we'll
points
put them
in?
on, we'll
All
put
right.
them on the website
Okay,
and send
All
out a flyer.
cool, awesome. All right, wait, picture, this is big.
One of the locations is behind our entrance sign on East Drive.
Okay,
That will be the yellow pine sienna there.
oh, that's nice.
And the oak is probably gonna be on Curtis Parkway.
Okay, nice, awesome. Thank you, we look forward to that.
Thank you, Juan.
Okay. Stay on up here, guys. We are going to next, so I'll go ahead and I'll skip to 5C just because they are not here, but yard of the month this month is 208 Lenape Drive, the Scafidas family. So if you have an opportunity to go by 208 Lenape Drive and see the fruits of all of their labors as they are yard of the month for April. So how about a big hand to the Scafidas family? All right, and then we will now do 5B, and last but not least, and as a matter of fact, I'll have, so you guys maybe can call out, we have three families. You guys remember that we this year decided with a lot of legwork on the part of the Historic Preservation Board, they identified 100 homes, 100 not 100 homes that were turning 100 years old, and we had about 9 or 10 of them, right? We had quite a few. They're going to be getting yard signs. They got a proclamation. And so now, with some more diligent effort, the Historic Preservation Board found 3 more homes that are even older than 100. They're not turning 100 this year. They are already long been centenarians. So let's bring up these 3 families. Go ahead and call up the families.
I'd like to call up the Rahaman family,
Come on up. Say the address. Say the address.
348 Whitehorn Drive.
All right. And which one's next?
The Urbis family of 218 Springs Avenue.
All right. If they are here, all right.
And the Tinoco family of 632 La Villa Drive.
Out of curiosity, how old is your house?
Hold on, let's give her a microphone. Who has a microphone?
Wow.
Okay, wait, here, you gotta be in the middle here with us. So tell us about your home. Where is it? How long have you lived there? And just anything you want to tell us about this historic home that you've got, go ahead and take the mic.
I just want to say that when I moved from the South America, I came first to Miami and we were living in that house. But eventually we give it over to one of our daughters. She couldn't be here today, so
Okay.
I am the mom. I come to receive the certificate of
So
that house.
it's been in the family quite some time.
It's been in the family for quite
And
some
the house
time.
is turning, is how many years old now?
It was built in 1925.
In 1925, so 101 years old, okay. And it's a charming house.
It's still going strong.
All right, awesome, thank you for that. All right. Okay, and next, the Tinoco family. Here, let's give you this, and
Okay.
please tell us the address of your home and your story, your
Sure,
history with it,
certainly.
and anything you want to tell us.
So our address is 632 La Villa Drive. And well, first of all, my family and I, we love Miami Springs. Growing up, I lived over the bridge, but I was lucky enough to go to all the schools here. So Miami Springs gave me so much growing up that I knew I wanted to come back here. So even though our lives took some different routes, we came back here 5 years ago and we purchased a home. And actually, one of the reasons we purchased a home, it was because it was still a Pueblo house. And it was one of the things that we've always loved about Miami Springs. So I am truly honored for this. We take great pride.
How old is your home?
In 1925, so we went over, yes,
Awesome.
yes. So thank you
First
very
success.
much, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, so let's take some pictures here. Here, squeeze in for the pictures.
Your certificate up, ma'am.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, and you guys will also be getting yard signs to put in the front yard.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for your preservation of our historic homes. Yeah, that's what we got. All right, so we are done with awards and presentations. We will now open up open forum. Just a reminder that open forum is one-way communication. It's an opportunity for people in the public to address the council. We do not respond, so it's one-way communication. But any concerns, lingering concerns that you may have, you can always reach out to all of us. Our business cards are always here. You can always reach out through the city manager's office. And you're limited to 3 minutes, so please be mindful of that. And so please state your name and address for the record. When you come up to speak, come on up. Alex Aguirre.
Good evening, council and mayor. My name is Alex. I'm a resident of Miami Springs, 810 Swan Avenue. Got two things that I have here on the agenda for tonight. One of them is I want to thank the special magistrate, John Cuneo, for a job well done in handling Tuesday's cases. The hearings are critical to maintain accountability and protecting the quality of life in Miami Springs and ensuring residents are heard. However, I want to address a growing concern from residents. We are seeing repeated issues with emails and phone calls to city officials going unanswered. This lack of communication is causing frustrations and delays resolutions of issues, and in some cases leading to citations, and residents were actively trying to resolve before reaching to a special magistrate hearing. Additionally, I believe also that code enforcement would benefit for further training and preparation for these hearings. There are instances where cases do not appear to fully prepared or clearly present, which can lead to confusion and inconsistency. Strong preparations, clarity, and professionalism are initial to maintaining the public's trust. Clear and timely communications along with fair, consistent enforcement should be a priority. I respectfully ask for the city to take steps to improving these areas as soon as possible. Also for tonight's hearing, I want to speak about the priorities of transparency and accountability. First, I want to acknowledge a positive item on the agenda, the FDLE funding narcotics detection devices investment in officer safeties are important, especially when they're coming at no cost to residents. However, I do have a concern about the overall spending and clarity. We're seeing a significant of overall $130,000 for police laptops and outsourcing general services of out-of-state contract and continuing changes orders in infrastructure projects. While each may be justified individually, together they're raising large questions. Are we fully evaluating cost alternatives and long-term impact before approving these costs? I also want to address the proposal expansion of the red light cameras before moving forward. Residents deserve a transparency, including where these cameras will be placed and what data supports that decision. Additionally, I'd like to bring up something more also important and for clarity. The Miami Springs Police Department was awarded a.
Thank you, Mr. Aguirre.
I'm sorry.
3 minutes. Thank you. Is there anybody online? No one else for open forum? Okay, so we move on from open forum.
I do. That is correct.
We've got approval of the council minutes, 7A. So we've got our March 30th regular meeting council minutes. Everybody's had an opportunity to review that. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the March 30th regular meeting council minutes. So move. I have a motion and I have a second from Santeen. So the motion. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Second.
Can you call the vote on that, please, Erica?
Vice Mayor Lamas,
Yes.
Councilman Santeen,
Yes.
Councilman Dion,
Yes.
Councilman Perez Crespo,
Yes.
Mayor Fahed.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, we have no reports from boards and commissions, no public hearings, have our consent agenda, so we pulled out 10B for discussion. So would somebody like to read that resolution?
A resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, approving an agreement with Marsden South LLC for janitorial services for the city's municipal facilities utilizing the terms and conditions of the Texas Region 10 Education Service Center vendor contract and general terms and conditions pursuant to section 31-11E5 of the city code, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Right. Vice Mayor, you had questions regarding this item?
So the concern that came up, and it's all in the back of the packet, but maybe you could just address it. Was there a vetting process that went on to hire this company
this-
and the price?
Yeah, absolutely. The company that we're proposing to award this contract is the current one that we have. They've been our contractor, I believe, for about 3 years. They started a little bit before I got here. They've been doing a phenomenal job, and the contract expired, so Juan also wanted to add some services like window cleaning and stuff like that. So they added some to the scope of services. But the information there about the Texas, that's a cooperative contract that we're piggybacking off of. But the company is here in the state, so we're very satisfied with them. And I just didn't think anything of it.
Okay, and the cost?
The cost is, with the expanded contract, it's about 240,000. But that's for all city facilities, so this building, the aquatic center, the rec, the rec here, city hall, the senior center, public works, so there's a lot of. All the restrooms at the park. And all the restrooms at the parks, thank you. So this is like a big contract.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'd also like to discuss the police items that the resident brought up. Just so everybody knows that it's reimbursable through outside programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll touch up on
Yeah,
it
that's
if you would
perfectly
like me to. Let's see here, the item A, there, the Pendar X10 handheld chemical narcotics detection device. That's exactly what it is. It's a narcotics detection device with a laser. The FDLE, we participate in a narcotics task force with FDLE. They asked us, they said, hey, purchase this equipment and we'll reimburse you. So we're gonna get it reimbursed because apparently we're huge participants in this task force. So they're gonna reimburse us for that money. As far as later on, I mean, if we want to talk about the red light camera later on, we can even talk about it later on at
New business.
under new business.
And the radios.
Oh, the laptops, the laptops are at 7 years old, and our IT, the police IT consultant, said, hey, these things are gonna be obsolete. We have Windows, something with Windows 11, and the chief is here. So they need to replace all of the laptops, and to be honest with you, they should have been replaced earlier. They should have been replaced. There should be a scheduled, replacement program for especially the laptops that are working nonstop. This money is coming out of the speed enforcement funds that we just started receiving for the school zone cameras. So that's where this money's coming from. It's not any general fund dollars. It's not coming from the tax dollars.
Would you mind, it looks like the chief.
No, the chief can absolutely come in.
something, yeah. Thank you, chief.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of what the city manager said. Right now, as it stands, the laptops that we have in production right now, they're not Windows 11 compatible. And being that they're not Windows 11 compatible, we're not compliant with FDLE. So our IT consultant said that this is a immediate expenditure that we need to do to maintain compliance with FDLE.
Mr. Chair. I do remember, I think, you and me were in the council, I think that 2 years ago, we had all the budgetary constraints, to say the least. They were one of the wish list at the time. Unfortunately, not a lot of things got approved, but so 2 years ago, they were already having problems and not really being compatible. So they made it 2 more years, we squeezed it out. I think we're lucky that we got this far and we're able to get the reimbursement, so.
Absolutely.
That's, we're getting reimbursed.
No, it's
reimbursement,
coming
but-
from it's not being reimbursed. This is coming from the funds that we've collected.
Right.
through
From the speed
detection
detection program.
Technical.
What you work for, in other words.
Yes.
Thank you, chief.
No worries. Any other questions regarding that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I believe all of this information was in the back.
Heidi, after having discussed 10B separately, we need to vote on that separately, right? Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion to approve 10B.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And we'll give Erica a second to come back and call the vote on that. 10B, it was motion by Dion, by the vice mayor, and seconded by Paris Cushman.
Okay, Vice Mayor Lamas,
Yes.
Councilman Santeen,
Yes.
Councilman Dion,
Yes.
Councilman Perez Crespo,
Yes.
Mayor Fahed.
Yes,
The motion carries.
my apologies. We have a newly minted vice mayor over here, so I should. Okay, all right, so I'd like to now entertain a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda, 10A, B, and D.
So move.
A, C, and D.
Sorry, I'm sorry, A, C, and D, my apologies. A, C, and D.
The vice mayor. So
Did-
move.
Okay, so we have Dion with the motion, seconded by Santeen. Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Lamas,
Yes.
Councilman Santeen,
Yes.
Councilman Dion,
Yes.
Councilman Perez Crespo.
Yes.
Mayor Fahed.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, so we're done with consent agenda. We have no previous or unfinished business. So in new business, we have 12A, an ordinance on first reading. Would you like to read that?
An ordinance of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, amending chapter 70 traffic code of the city's code of ordinances by amending section 70-02 red light camera enforcement relating to the placement and installation of traffic infraction detectors at an additional eligible intersection, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. City Manager, what, do you want to just explain where this,
Sure.
where we go?
This, first of all, whenever you're adding a red light camera, it takes 2 readings. You have to do it by ordinance, by statute that you have to do it. This one is gonna go on the northbound lane of, go ahead, please. Of Green Road at 30th Street.
So currently, right now, we have one southbound on Lejeune Road at 36th Street. And now we're gonna put one on northbound or the northbound Lejeune Road at 36th Street. The reason we didn't do it the first time is because they didn't have the technology at the time, because there's a lot of overpasses, the 112 expressway, there's different expressways, overpasses. So they didn't have the technology, they didn't have the cameras to be able to capture any fractions. So we talked to our vendor, they said we do have the technology now, and they did a study a few weeks ago. And in a 12-hour period, we had 855 violations. This is a major intersection and it's one of the biggest intersections in Dade County. So it's needed.
And the benefit is it frees up police time, so you guys don't have to answer them.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of our accidents occur northbound on Lejeune Road because there's 3 different travel directions and you could get onto 3 different expressways. So it's a big cluster and that's all the traffic leaving the airport. So they're kind of confused.
And just to echo something that the chief said, there was a study that was done that showed a problem. And the only way you can actually, that part of the process of getting these approved is to show a study with the statistics that it's warranted. I believe 855 violations in a 12-hour period.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. That's the chair.
Yep.
Just for clarification, the city hasn't placed any cameras inside the city of Miami Springs, have it? They've all been around the perimeter on 36th Street, Lejeune, et cetera.
Well, it depends on what type of cameras you're talking about. Speed detection cameras are in our residential areas by the schools, but red light cameras are on the perimeter. They're on 36th Street.
Yeah.
They're all on 36th Street.
Chair.
Yep.
Chief, can you talk to us a little bit about, when you get these citations, what's the process to challenge a camera or to issue a ticket for taking a red light? How does that work? Do you have a person actually views what
Yes,
infractions?
we have to have a sworn police officer to actually view the infraction and give it a check mark to say, yes, it's an infraction. And then the violator gets a gets a certified letter to their house and lets them know about the infraction. And they have 2 options or 3 options. They have one to say that they weren't the person driving the vehicle, even though they're a registered owner, and they could sign an affidavit to say who was driving the vehicle at the time of the infraction, and then they could pay the violation, or they could set it for trial, or they could just pay the violation.
And Chief, one more question. So there's been numerous cameras installed. Do you foresee expanding your department to handle these challenges or these infractions, or to, an officer to look at all the video?
So we have our community police officers. They handle all the infractions. It is going to be an uptick in and reviews, but we also have our motorcycle officers, and we can pull resources, existing resources to view all the infractions.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief.
All right, okay. So I actually need to open up for public comment, correct? On a first reading of this? No? No? Okay, all right. All right, so is there any discussion? From anyone? Other than that, no? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion then to approve 12A on first reading.
So move.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll say.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Lamas.
Yes.
Councilman Santeen.
Yes.
Councilman Dion.
Yes.
Councilman Perez Crespo.
Yes.
Mayor Behet.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, so we move on. Thank you, Chief. So we move on to other business there, and we have 13A, a request by Councilman Santeen to discuss possible action regarding drafting a proposed resolution expressing the city's support for property tax reform and urging the Florida legislature to advance measures that provide relief for senior citizens. Councilman Santeen, you want to take it away?
Thank you, Mayor. The reason I brought this item up is simple. I think a lot of the, residents, especially the senior citizens that have homes here, property taxes, insurance keeps going up, so it keeps getting more difficult to keep it up. And they're the long-term residents of our community, so they had a lot to do with the kind of community that we have, and we shouldn't be forcing them out of their homes. And so I kind of, not my idea, it's been got up by, many others have talked about it before. I think Mayor Calvo and Hialeah has already taken the steps in doing this, but basically it's an explored, a targeted approach, focusing on seniors over 65 years old, homesteaded properties, and then it's the threshold, obviously, a certain fixed income. So that obviously also limits the amount of people that can afford it, but those are the ones that are hurt most by the property tax increases. So, I just want to have a conversation about it so we can show the state legislation how we feel about it. We're not completely against property tax reform, but I just want to voice our part in this, thinking that this is something that we would like them to consider more than other ideas that they have out there. So ultimately, it's just a matter of principle. I think it's the right thing to do, is to at least let them know, how we feel.
So what, to the chair?
Go ahead.
So what this is gonna do is, we're just letting the legislator know that we support these type of measures.
That's correct.
Compared to Hialeah, cause I think they did something on their own.
Yes.
Yeah, it's similar in that sense. I mean, sorry.
So how, this is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, this is what this is. Let me
We're not doing it now.
let me back up a little bit. Shortly after Hialeah and Mayor Calvo did this property tax relief for their senior citizens that make a certain income threshold. The next day, as soon as it came out in the paper, Councilman Santeen was calling me, asking me if we can do the same thing, something similar here. Long story short is what I told him was, let's hold off. Let's see what the state is gonna do, because what the state is talking about doing and what the House approved would have serious impact on the city's finances, and in particular our revenue. So he agreed. He said, all right, well, let's hold off to see, let the dust settle and see what happens. And then after that, we can come back and then explore what our options are. In the meantime, though, since the state is still grappling what they're gonna do, he asked, what can we do? And we came up together. We said, well, why don't we pass a resolution urging them, if they're gonna do something, hey, that the city of Miami Springs is all for something, but, let's focus on providing relief to the seniors. And so this is where this idea came from.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think, especially we're small, but we do have a big voice in this conversation, because the city, like Miami Springs, we pride ourselves on the great services that we have, police, public works. So, I think if there's an area where we could definitely help people is on the senior citizens. Yeah.
The way it's worded now, so what we're talking about is a resolution. This is just, it's a paper expressing that we
Yes.
as a city
It's a resolution.
support,
You as an official board saying,
Right,
body
right.
of the city.
Right. The city
They
council of the
encourage
city
you
of
to
Miami
look at
Springs is in support of what they're already debating doing in the state. I think that it's saying that we support property tax reform and urging the Florida legislature to advance measures that provide relief for senior citizens kind of makes it sound like two different things. There are some tax reform proposals, particularly what passed in the House, that would be
Yes, you're right.
incredibly
Crippling to us.
right,
Devastating.
onerous for us
Absolutely.
as a city, and I wouldn't want to,
Say we're.
you know, inadvertently imply that. So okay, let me hear from other members of the council. Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
So when I first saw this in the agenda, I didn't, now that Councilman Santin said 65, you're looking at proposing, so I looked at the census, latest census data for Miami Springs. So we have 2,547 residents, 65 and over. So these are ones would have, and within a certain tax bracket is what they're.
And homestead exempt.
And homestead
They
exemption,
have to
so,
be homestead exempted and they have to have a certain income threshold.
so it's three criteria, it's whoever owns a house, if they're 65 and over. Homestead exempted and
Income threshold.
income earned, okay. I know we've talked internally about how property taxes, I think something's coming from Tallahassee. Politically, it sounds great. But it's gonna affect different municipalities in different ways. Speaking like my father, who's 82, who has a mortgage and lives off of Social Security. And he gets 1,400 something Social Security, his mortgage is 1,200, do the math. I have to help my dad out, so I totally understand when he says, why am I still paying property tax? So I understand where that argument is coming from. So we're looking at to be officially, we have a resolution, officially, we're proposing.
Not proposing anything, but you're urging them to consider focusing on seniors instead of everything else.
Okay, so the hopes is we have enough voices for this, they'll notice.
Yes.
Yes, I know you want to say something?
I mean, I'm for it. I think. I don't want to exclude all the other people, but I'd like it to say focus specifically, I mean, especially for those 65 and older, et cetera. But not cut out anybody else, disabilities, et cetera. But again, may need it. But overall, I'm for it.
To the chair, look, I don't kid myself, this is gonna go completely into deaf ears, okay?
I was gonna say, like,
Completely.
this
We
resolution
know
would
exactly
not be
how
what tips the
Tallahassee
scale.
thinks. And they already are set on something a lot more powerful, but still doesn't mean that we have to stay silent. It's our opinion. We think this is fair. In principle, I really believe this is the right thing. It's something that's been brought up before, they just never had enough people behind it. In Tallahassee to make the call. But definitely, if there's gonna be a measure, yeah, you know what, this is how we feel. That if it did happen, we're in support of some reform. But if it's gonna be, it definitely shouldn't be to the seniors that are gonna lose their homes in this town. And the amount, there's always an amount that's gonna hurt the budget, but it's not significant enough, you know. I think in Hialeah, look, they're 10 times our size and it's costing them $1 million. So even if I did the real quick math and 10%, $100,000, yeah, this is another less $100,000 for Chris and you and administration to deal with, but I think it's the right thing to do if that was the case. But we don't, most likely we'll be in deaf ears. But like I said earlier, I don't think we should be silent, and that's how we feel. That's how I feel.
Through the chair. So it's my understanding that they can't find, like, they're going back and forth with different ideas. And, you know, from working with our state representative, Alex Rizzo, and with Senator Avila, I think they have a loud voice in Tallahassee. And once they see this, hopefully, you know, at least maybe it's something showing that the people are supportive of a measure that maybe could help them, you know, help guide them, you know. At the end, they're elected officials that are representing us, so.
It can't hurt. Right, you,
All right,
the chair, you need to
Any-
make
any
a
other
motion, or do somebody else make the motion? So I make the motion?
Hold
Yeah,
on.
so I make the motion.
Hold
Oh,
on,
You
let
wanna
her-
correct that?
let her,
Heidi,
she's trying to
Okay.
speak.
It's coming off standby.
You want to clarify also the wording? on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
more?
yeah. Let me,
Okay.
let's hear from her first.
What I wanted to know is I can bring something back at the next meeting, the actual resolution, so you can see the language and it can clearly set forth what it is that you're supporting and urging the legislator to do.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So you're going to draft something or you're gonna show us all right,
I'll bring you a resolution at the next meeting.
okay.
It can go on consent. If somebody wants to pull it, we can
All right.
pull it.
I-
Through the chair.
I do, hold on. Are we on the same page that the focus of the resolution should be providing, measures that provide property tax relief for senior citizens, right? Not just like in general reform.
Through the chair, so meeting the three criterias, are we supposed to outline those criterias? Age, income, and homestead exemption, or?
I would let's let the people that have a higher pay grade take care of that. Let's let the legislature take care of that. Let's just say that we are really in favor of support, unless you guys
Yeah, I
disagree.
agree.
We are in support of property tax relief for senior citizens. We get it. That's not exclusive, but it's something that we can all get behind and I think that, but I think if we start proposing details, I think they got that covered.
Through the chair. Does anybody know when the House goes back into session or?
Next week.
Actually,
Next week?
Next week they're going.
yeah, I believe in May, they're gonna talk about this item. In June, if they haven't even passed the budget yet. In June, they're gonna focus on budget with the idea of July 1st, they can sign off.
Is there something that we might want to get in their hands before they get back in session or?
I think-
Next week's session is a special session on redistricting on congressional lines.
Yeah,
They're
So
gonna be
it's,
up
it's not the property tax or budget
Yeah.
special.
it'll be in their hands plenty of time.
Okay.
And there's still not even a date yet for the special session. It's assumed that it's gonna be in May.
And either we're going next week, because I want Brian to, that's,
Or something else.
I think it shows good consensus. I think that we discussed that. We've discussed plenty with them in our visits up to Tallahassee. So I think it would just underscore this belief that we had. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion then to or do you just need consensus for you to work on it and bring us a draft? Do we need to vote on it or?
That's fine. With consensus is fine.
With consensus is fine. Okay, all right. So we move on to our second discussion, which is 13B, which is a discussion regarding the Northwest 36th Street Corridor initiative. I asked to put this on the agenda for today. And I wanted to just kind of summarize some thoughts to you guys and then open it up for you guys to discuss. Because I believe that we're at the point in a few weeks, the deadline will be in place for the ballot measure language. And we kind of need to give them direction. So I wanted to, the last time we met in earnest about Southeast Springs, they needed clarity on a couple of things. Were we going to include the Abraham Tract as part of the exemption area that would be exempt from the 3-story ban in the city? We decided to leave Abraham Tract out. We discussed whether or not our ballot language could have legislative intent. I feel very confident that Roger and Heidi worked on something that is within the limits of what we are allowed to do. And I think they put a lot of work into it because it is kind of a tricky thing to do. In terms of wording things so that you are within the limits of what the state allows. And then the other thing that we were talking about was specificity around around the ballot language itself. We wanted specificity. So I have mentioned several times that I think that there's in talking to residents, there's a skepticism, right? That you guys are going to ask us to vote on something, right? To be done in the Northwest 36th Street district. And then in the future, a future council could expand the district and do something. And basically they gave us a blank check. The other thing that people mention to me whenever I talk about this is how high is it going to be? How high is it going to be? Right. And that's one of the things that we are, because they want to know. That I favor ballot language that makes it clear for voters what they are voting on. So we would say, you know, that this is the boundary that we want to exempt, right, as drawn today, so that they know that that's what they are voting on that boundary, and that boundary can't change. They'd have to go back to the voters to change it, right? But I mean, I think that would reassure people that they know what they're voting on. So I feel like there should be specificity around the boundaries. And I also feel like there should be specificity around what height, because that's always the first question that they ask. And so that brings me to something that, you know, that I've kind of learned more about in the past month, as we visualize things in this zone that we're trying to exempt. So that district, the Northwest 36th Street district, the entire district, the one that starts on Curtis Parkway, goes all the way down to the eastern corner. That entire district has its own height restrictions in their zoning district. Buildings are allowed to be up to 4 stories, 55 feet, roughly 4 stories, if they're within 150 feet of residential. And then beyond that, if you're beyond the 150 feet, you're allowed to go up 12 stories. Right, and when you understand that, when you visualize that, you see why certain buildings are the height that there are. There's a Comfort Suites North and a Comfort Suites South. Well, one is right close to residential, and so it's capped, right? Because there's a cap. And then one is higher because it falls into that area of the zone where you can go up to 120 feet. 120 feet is roughly 12 stories, 11 to 12 stories. So that district has its own character. And it has buildings are allowed to go up 4 stories or 12 stories, depending on how far they are from residential, right? And that's why the buildings that we have in that area are how they are. But in 2006, there was a citizens initiative. Some residents of the city of Miami Springs decided to start a petition, and they got a bunch of signatures, and they were able to put on the ballot. This was in 2006, just 20 years ago. They were able to put on the ballot to do a blanket across the city height restriction on anything that was resident more than 1 unit, so 2 units or more. So anything residential that wasn't single family, right? So that got onto the ballot. So that did not come from the council. It came from the citizens who did this citizens initiative, and it passed on the ballot. And so as a result, that. And look, I happen to agree, right? Like, I don't think that the central business district should go above 3 stories with residential, or actually in about 90% of the city, I agree. But in that district that had been around for decades prior to that, buildings could go up 12 stories or 4 stories, depending on how close you were to residential. And then what basically happened when they passed that, right? And I get it. There was an anti-density movement, right? You don't want residences, at least hotels, they're transient, but it doesn't have the traffic and parking problems, but hotels have their own problem. So by doing this 3-story limit has basically, and for practical purposes, restricted us from being able to have multifamily residential in the Northwest 36th Street district, because it's very expensive property. And the lowest height restriction of all other buildings is 4. And because of this referendum language now for residential, just for that type of use, it's even less than that. And I think that it's hamstrung us as a city. And as a matter of fact, I come to learn last week that I guess some state legislation was passed in 2011, a few years after this citizens initiative.
It was in 2020, I think 2022, 2023.
2022, but basically
They went back to 2011.
it went back to 2011. So basically the state legislature prohibited this type of zoning by referendum. So now you're not allowed to do that, and went back to 2011. Unfortunately, it didn't go back to 2006. So like, to me, I feel like that is something that was short-sighted. I understand the sentiment behind it, but now we've had 20 years. And we were told throughout this process, when they did the economic analysis, that obviously hotels are always going to be a strong market because of our proximity to the airport. right? But we know what comes with the hotels and we know, how it is, how many services we have to provide on a monthly basis to the hotels. They're great tax payers, but we haven't had residential in there, I believe, because we've been kind of like discouraging it because of this 3-story limit throughout the city. So what I am proposing is that within the boundary that we define for the residents, right? As drawn now, so that they know what they're voting for, that what we are going to do is proposing that we restore the height restrictions in the ordinance that were in place before this citizens initiative and are in place now for all other buildings. Because right now, you could build, a 4-story office building, right next to residential, and there'd be nothing we could do about it because it's allowed, and 12-story, and obviously, but we're just excluding residential in all practical purposes by having this 3-story limit throughout the Northwest 36th Street district. And I think that hasn't served us well in the last 20 years. And I think we have enough data now that we can ask the residents, hey, let's make a tweak here and restore the height restrictions that area was zoned for before, because it had a character that called for that because it was right in front of the airport and on 36th Street. I don't think we'll never know what could have been had we allowed the last 20 years residential there. But it's certainly clear to me that, our biggest asset is proximity to the airport in terms of hospitality and tourism. But I'm telling you, as somebody who worked for the school district and had to drive all over the county, location. There, it is an extremely strong market, residential. We're talking about an area of the city that is next to every major thoroughfare in the county. You can get anywhere in the county, be going against the traffic, get anywhere in 25 minutes, which is not the case for somebody. The opposite is not true for people coming from south. You can live in Miami Springs, you could work anywhere in the county. I feel like, as I think about this more, what we need to do is restore what was kind of usurped by that 2006 referendum, and just carve out this area that we define, and then we'll tell them the height restrictions when they ask, what height will it be? Same as it is right now. Every other building, it'll be 4 and 12, and then that'll be locked in. And I think that we will not, I think that this is something that everybody will get behind. I think that everybody will agree that it's the right thing to do. Because I think I've been clear from the very beginning, I've been very conservative about, we don't have to hit a 7-run home run. Let's just get on base. We don't only get one crack at this. If this works out, right? If this opens things up, get a couple projects in there going, and just a few more residents in there, a little bit more residential density, I think would go a long way in terms of like providing the infill development to make that work. I think we've all seen a map that we asked staff to provide us to kind of visualize this area. So I think you guys have had maybe an opportunity to see that, but that's what I wanted to propose. But now I'd like to open it up to hear what you guys think, because I kind of came to this a little more recently. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. So, anyone?
To the chair, yes. I mean, I think I've been clear about making it simple, that maybe sometimes it's lost in translation, but the reality has been that I don't want anything to be any different than we have there now. Every time they ask me, like, well, you're gonna get rid of the multifamily, and how tall they're gonna go, and I say the same amount as the current hotels and commercial buildings, and it stops there. No one even asks me, what is that? No, it's it. It's no different. So the logic is, if you were fine for all these years with the hotels going this height and the commercial buildings going this height, then your argument is not that the height is the problem. It might be another argument for the multifamily, but it sure isn't the height, because you shouldn't care that the hotels were going as high. So I've been clear about saying, don't make it simple. We are not changing anything. that is not there now, except the use, multifamily will be an added use.
I
with
mean,
the
it is,
same height
to be
restriction.
clear, because, to be clear, it's allowed.
Yeah, it's allowed. but
Residential.
An added use
But-
without the
right,
restriction.
But the referendum language makes the point moot because you can't, it's overridden by what was written into the charter when this
Gotcha.
went to the ballot. And I gotta, I asked Erica to share it wasn't even close. I think that at the time, right, there was a big anti-density movement, which I think all of us have heard, and to a certain extent, we agree. But I think that looking back,
Hindsight is 20/20, right? Obviously, at the time, they thought, whether some didn't want anything, reference to density, more voters and so forth. There was also a group that thought that the hotels was the most feasible thing. Well, we already know, the hotels are not bringing us anything positive to this community.
well, I
In
wouldn't.
general,
I
in
wouldn't go
general, in general, a lot of the older ones, remember, a lot of these hotels, because if you don't create a sense of community and a higher end, area for higher end hotels to come in, all these hotels that are in the lower end of the hotel chain will eventually become and will be constantly a lower hotel, meaning maybe possibly even more headaches in the future. If we don't create a sense of community there, community is the one that helps the police watch over crime. If someone's going there for a day or two before they go on a cruise ship, you think I'm gonna tell my kid to call the cops, or I'm gonna turn that person in? I'm gonna tell my kid and my family, get inside the room, and tomorrow we're leaving, don't worry about it. But if I live there with my family, I wanna care a lot more. I wanna be another set of eyes for the police, they need that. They're going there a lot of times after the fact. Not saying that they can't find something before, but the reality is, they're going after the fact when things happen. So to me, I think it's time to create a community there that loves being part of Miami Springs. And ultimately, it's gonna help police, it's gonna help the whole community as a whole. So to me, I just wanna be very simple, and I agree with you, Mayor, is just say nothing is going to change, that it's there now, except that the multifamily will have no restriction different than the other buildings that are there, so. However, our attorney can write it up, but it's very clear that it's not changing anything. And now, so we won't have to hear the argument, well, you're setting a precedence and then later on that you can move it somewhere else. No, if you're clear on that language, on that ballot question, that doesn't happen. And the reality is, any judge who knows about zoning, why do you think city planners exist? There's a rationale why you go to an area to rezone. There's a need to do something like that. So you can't just move zoning from this spot zoning. It's ridiculous. It's not gonna happen. There's a rationale why you do zoning. An area needs it, this area is different. So how, to make those comments to scare people, to me, it's not fair. So I just wanted to be as clear as we can, and we can guide Heidi to do the best they can and make sure that it's really clear, black and white. Nothing's gonna change than what we have there, except that the multifamily obviously will now have no restrictions different than we have already. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
So I've talked with a lot of people about this, especially since from the moment I decided to run and I knocked on many doors, it was a top topic, when I was campaigning, and it still is. And I believe, so the number one concern that I got from the residents was safety on 36th Street, so I think that maybe we should address public safety in the question. And then me personally, I bought my home from someone that they had to move, they were older, and I think the adding condominiums to the or residential to 36th Street also addresses the issue of, a lot of people that live here, they've been here a long time, many years, a lot of them generational. And we were just talking about writing to the legislator about helping 65 and older, the people 65 and older with the taxes. I think also this will help them move to a place, because it's not only just the taxes that sometimes they have to deal with, but the responsibilities that come with a bigger property, a house, maintaining it. And if they had a place to move and still be in Miami Springs, it would be great. So aging in place. Question, and then I did want to bring up one more thing. I don't know if this is the best time, but I was wondering if we have any movement with the contract from the marketing.
Oh, that contract's still being drafted up, but before I meet with them and really, bring Sylvia, I kind of wanted to nail this down so
Okay,
we can
okay.
have one message.
Gotcha.
Vice Mayor, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I agree with all the points. However, Sylvia, where would this, how would this affect all of the studies that we've done and planning? I mean, what effect would this have on revitalizing the area?
Good evening, council. It's hard to predict. There's a lot of factors that go into this. There's market factors. But of course, the change in the restriction to multifamily, and also potentially a change in the distance was going to be two of the factors that went into the equation of making a whole. So these things don't work, on their own. They work as part of a whole. We have just, a couple less tools in the in the back of of the truck to move it forward. But I'm in the process of consulting with our market analyst to just kind of get a sense of his thoughts relative to the challenges. That was one of the charges that we had, not just to identify what was the potential market, but also to identify the barriers that were in the code. The significant step back distance of 150 feet is one of the barriers that we identified. It's not certainly the worst. It's not the, and by no means did we intend to eliminate a step back, but we kind of had considered that we could modify. So there's just one less tool.
Yeah, one concern that I have about this is, I see it all the time in my field, development, construction, is if, we've been held back, like you said, for 20 years. If we don't do a significant enough change, then it's still not viable for developers to come in and do what they gotta do. If the change isn't, if it's not worth it, they're just not gonna do it. So I'm afraid that if like she mentions, if the setback is too much, then it's not viable for that particular lot. And that's it, it's gonna stay that way forever. So all this could be for nothing. We need a big change. I don't want more density, but we gotta be realistic. If the developer can't make money, they're not gonna do it. And it's gonna stay that way. So I don't think we can dip our toe. I think we gotta go all in.
All right. Councilman Ferris President?
Well, yeah, I've heard your points today. When residents ask me, what are you gonna do about that area over there? So if this motion over there could be on a ballot, these people would understand what we're talking about. And I'm like, I don't know, what do you want to do over there? Well, I don't like what's over there. Okay, what would you like to see? And that's what I'm asking people. What do you want to see over there? I challenge people, walk down Westward Drive at 10 o'clock at night any given day, and then walk down east of East Drive on 36th Street at 10 o'clock at night. What would you rather walk? So the reality is that it's unsafe, it's a blight, it's disconnected from the community, which is not helping us any. And I think about, I wish I could move my dad over to Miami Springs. I can't put him anything, can't afford anything. The day my kids are ready to buy property, they can't afford a house either. I would like to have my children close to me, Could they buy an apartment building somewhere on 36th Street in Lejeune? Why not? Could they work in a corporate office on 36th Street in Lejeune? Why not? The possibilities are there. I think we should not limit ourselves to what could be, and not fall for scare tactics like Councilman Santin. And it's a lot. There's a lot of wording out there on the social media, and if you believe it, you know, it's just for clicks and bait. It's clickbait. It's just to drive the point, and the algorithm rewards the negativity behind it. So I want to stress that very important. Don't fall for the clickbait. You have questions. That's what we're here for. That's what open forum is for. This is why I feel that we're all trying to work really, really hard to present this in a way that the residents can say, okay, I could go for that. And then, you know, I agree with Councilman Lamas's point. Where do we make it attractive enough? And that was a question I'm not a developer, I'm not an architect, but you know, what point above 4 feet, 4 stories, 12 stories, where is that sweet spot that some would say, okay, I could build something there? I don't know. That's not my field. I'll default that to others who know more than me. But yeah, I think it's important. We need to do something. We need to plant the seeds of the trees. We will not enjoy the shade. And I think this is the council to finally do something.
Through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with the councilman. I just think that people don't understand what it's like from our side. So they're just worried about losing their small town feel. We all live here and we don't want to lose our small town feel either. You know, we just want to make it a better place, especially with crime and whatnot. One thing that they don't put out there, and if they like clickbait, and maybe they should do something like that, is that right now you could build a hotel on 36th Street that is 12 stories, right? And that area is coming up. So we could do something about it, get proactive, bring tax dollars to the city, safety, and you know, do the right thing, or you know, the hotels are gonna come. So
I'd like to just kind of respond to a couple of things. Like I think that Councilman Paris Crespo said that area is disconnected, and it strikes me that when they did that citizens initiative and people were signing that petition, I get it, right? You think of like, I don't want to increase the density in the bird section in the central business district like you want to try to control that. But like, this is a district that for decades before that had zoning, and it was based on the character of that district and its location and the fact that it was facing, you know, the airport and this, you know, metropolitan area. Like it had its own character, and this initiative in 2006 just kind of cut that at the knees, that district, only arbitrarily for that one particular use for residential. You can have an office building, you can have an office building or a movie theater or a retail store, you could have a hotel, and it could be 4 stories if you're within 150 feet, or 12 stories, and that's it. We're just excluding by that referendum language, you're basically excluding it. Like it's less than the lowest thing all other buildings can reach over there. And again, because of the location, I like that, and I feel like that's why it feels disconnected, because it's a bunch of hotels. I mean, I live there, guys. I'm the easternmost person on this council. At night, like, you don't want to be walking around, there, like where the Chase Bank is and those parking lots and the Miami Regional University. If there were a little bit more residential density there, I think that just a couple of projects, people could walk their dogs, whatever. Like there's nowhere to go if you're in that hotel, in the hotels there. And I think that we've missed we've missed out on a really strong market that could really make that area cohesive. and create a sense of community that you don't get from the transient culture of just being a hotel where. So I think that that's important. I think that there is also people that may be disappointed with taking a conservative approach because the thinking is, so why bother? We went through all this, so like we're not, we're not gonna maximize. I mean, I guess you could argue that the zoning 20 years ago may have been inadequate, right? But I don't see it as you're gonna find out you did nothing. There is a huge housing crisis in Miami-Dade County. That area is extremely valuable as it relates to somewhere where you could live and be able to get anywhere. I don't feel like it has to, like we've got to maximize development. I really feel that if we just default back to what all other buildings can do, right? So that we're not just like arbitrarily, discouraging any residential there, right? In this great location. I think that it would help raise that area. And we're not even asking for the entire Northwest 36th Street district. We're asking the Northwest 36th Street district, if I have my druthers, the way it's drawn today, right? East of East Drive. And again, this could be, I think that so for instance, if you guys look at the Wyndham Garden where the pilot house is, their lot has 150 feet from some residences that are there off of Oakwood. And that's where they have their parking lot. And then they have their 8-story hotel tower. And guess what? They're building another tower next to it. They did a surface level parking lot. Obviously, residential has more parking demand, but you could do a four-story parking garage there and still be able to maximize. Like I see people creating housing anywhere that they could conceivably find in this county. There is a housing crisis, right? I don't see how a conservative tweak, let's just restore what was there in place before and what is still in place for everywhere else, right? Like how can anybody be against that, right? Even if you're living right there and you are on ground zero of anything that if you live next to the aviation property, it's a parking lot, right? Anything is going to be more of an impact of that. But right now, an office building can go up there and there's nothing that they can do about it. All we're saying is like, can we allow maybe residential? Right? But if it's the same height restrictions, then like really, I feel like we're just restoring something. And I don't think that we'll have to wait another 20 years to find out whether or not. I feel like if we do this, which is just a conservative course correction, because we're restoring, then a future council can go back to the voters and say, hey, let's restore everything from the Northwest 36th Street, everything from East Drive to South Drive, right? Let's see how that works, right? And go from there. But I don't see like there's buildings being built. There's plenty of buildings 4 stories and higher throughout this Northwest 36th Street district. But again, I feel like we've built a little culture there that feels incomplete because we've, again, in 2006, arbitrarily did something that is basically excluding residential in that area. And I really think that it would help. And I really think that it's conservative. And I really think that we won't have to worry about misinformation. You know what you're voting on. And to be honest with you, as I've realized this and I've talked to people, we just had like people, even the people that I know are most anti-density in that area are like, well, that kind of makes sense. Why would we arbitrarily like exclude that one use in this area that's so valuable? It just kind of makes sense. So I get that we're not maximizing anything, but it's got to make a difference to be able to go back to 4 and 12 like it was before this arbitrary limit just on residential, particularly with as strong as that market is. But again, that's just my opinion. But we do have to give direction. So chime in, guys. Tell me what to do.
Chair, well, I think nothing that we've already haven't agreed in public. But in reference to the single family, at the end of the day, that's the one that's most infringed by any development. So all we're saying, we're going to keep it the same. We're going to protect that's area that you had before, no different. But to me, the area that we're talking about, it's minor in comparison to the whole area. It's a small 2-block area. And actually the properties that are there are not in any high value that the possibilities of development in those smaller areas, including because the 150 feet are there to protect a single family, can still be done. In my opinion, I'm only do feasibility studies. Others, developers who could think that they could do more and they have a little better grasp on the cost of construction. But I think the only pockets that really cannot maybe be developed are so minor, but it protects the single family residents. The rest of the areas, it's just a matter of time. Because they can be developed, even with the 150 feet.
And
They're talking about 3, 4, 5 acres. So it's not that it cannot happen. So I think we need to protect the single family areas the way they are now, has been in place. And if later on, if the folks, the people want to change that, well, then that's the power of vote. The people can come back in 4 years and say, you know what, we're ready to change because that area didn't get developed. Those 2 blocks didn't get there and we need to go further in. That's fine. If somebody else, I don't want to do it on my watch. I don't want to do anything that infringes on the single family people more than we have already now. So we'll leave it at that.
To the chair.
Yeah.
The other thing that, so as this moves forward, the question comes up of traffic, and I have my take. We live between Hialeah, it's on Lejeune, the airport, and now with the stadium coming up, I think traffic is bad there as it is, no matter what. But do we have any studies on how the traffic will be affected if we build residential there?
I mean,
Sylvia.
I just wanted to respond to that. We do not have a study at this point. That was not part of our scope, although we could prepare one if the city wants. It would be just based on an estimate, and it would depend on how much density the council decides to allow, because right now it's really low. And despite, this is not to contradict the mayor, but I think that's going to have to be one of the tweaks because with the density, again, this is like a whole package of tools that you have to make work together. This is not just to benefit. Remember, let's just remember, this is not just to benefit developers. This is to attract development, right? So, and mind you, not to digress, but some of the tools that have to be part of that toolkit are not even zoning tools. They have to be, you know, other things that, you know, you proactively can go at to market, promote, you know, other brands of hotels, not the ones that you're getting now. You can do a branding of the area in a way that promotes it for other kinds of uses, the kinds of uses that I've heard people say that they want there, the grocery stores, the pharmacy, you know. So it all has to work together. But to come back to this idea of the traffic study, typically what happens is that, and that's today also, when a project comes in for development and we review it, one of the requirements is that they have to prepare a traffic study that projects how much traffic their project will generate. And it has to demonstrate that they can meet the levels of service. And that's not just for traffic, it's also for other kinds of infrastructure. So that's, at this point, typically done on an individual project basis. If the city wanted to do sort of a more comprehensive study to project what could happen, that's something that we will have to consider separately.
Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, and if we had a 12-story hotels or 12-story office buildings, I think the traffic would probably be pretty bad.
Each use, there's something called the IT, the Institute of Traffic Engineers manual that has individual use kind of projections of traffic generation. So you have to look at them for each kind of use, kind of imagine, you know, how much square footage of office, how much, so there's potentially infinite combinations of what you could get here. So kind of difficult to imagine each scenario, but you could do something sort of generic. And certainly you could, perhaps the easier use to project would be if you imagined a scenario where you have residential, because because, you know, you have a measure for density. And if you kind of go to the maximum, you can say, okay, this is like the worst case scenario, right? Of how many units you could have, how much traffic it could generate.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Guys, it just strikes me that there are pros and cons to everything. I understand, you know, the cons to increase residential density. Obviously, traffic, just more people that live there, so, you know, I get that. But I also feel like we know the pros and cons to excluding residential and just trying to do it just on hotel and some commercial. And again, I just feel like it was a short-sighted decision in 2006. I feel like if we try to take, you know, if we try to maximize things too much, because this didn't happen in the 1970s, guys, this happened in 2006. Those people are still around. It like passed like 64-37. Okay, we've all knocked on doors as part of campaigning, and we know the kind of things that we hear from residents. Those people are still around. I think that it is extremely reasonable to say, hey, that decision in 2006 was a little short-sighted. I feel like we should restore the high restrictions, that there's all kinds of things that we still have to do to try to activate Southeast Springs. Like, this is a much bigger project. But unfortunately, that referendum language that got put on the ballot in 2006, and that's limiting arbitrarily anything residential to only 3 stories, again, works in most of the city, but in this one little section that we'd like to carve out, we'd like to default back to the original zoning and the current zoning for all other buildings. I don't see how anybody, I don't see how that is not something that we can get everybody behind. Because we got 20 years worth of data to see that, you know, maybe we kind of, you know, we're missing one leg of the stool here. And I think that it could make a big difference. And then if that works out, then I think that the next election, people will be more willing to restore some other sections, or maybe even depending on how things go, but we got to get it moving. It's been 20 years of this arbitrary limit, and we see what's happening in that area. I feel like this is something that is screaming to us, please fix this. So.
Sure. Chair, I would like to point out one thing, that it's obvious our police is being proactive about watching the traffic there. Look at what they're doing with the camera on 36th Street and the June. So there's no doubt in my mind that if there was something to go up there, you know, we'll be on top of the traffic. And to reiterate, Hialeah and their airport, they're the issue with the traffic. I don't think Miami Springs adding a couple residential is gonna make it that much worse. Like, I think that we live between a major city in the United States with a lot of people. That's the major intersection. People are gonna go through there no matter what. Hialeah is still growing. And I don't see it slowing down. And the airport, there are a lot of people coming, and then my concern is, yeah, there's a stadium that was just built that's gonna possibly ask for more hotels in the area.
Go ahead.
So going back to my point, again, my concern is that zoning was in place. I'm not about maximizing the development rights. Like, I live here too. I deal with big buildings, and I live here because I love the small city feel. We just gotta be realistic that if that zoning was in place for so many years, it never attracted any residential. It was obviously a problem. Now, I agree with Centene about, our first priority has to be to take care of the residential around it, single family. I do have a problem with the setback, but I understand. I agree that is our first priority, but then we need to really raise the units per acre and the density of what will be allowed significantly, again, to make it attractive. Otherwise, it stayed that way for 30, 40 years before that, and it'll stay that way another 40 years.
The reason we're focusing on the height restriction is because that's the arbitrary barrier.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, like they just decided, hey, it'll be a great idea to make a 3-story limit all across the city, and that's not, it just wasn't even thinking about what, you know, that sounds great. Again, it was a citizens initiative. And look, I get it.
We just can't go back to what was there, 'cause it didn't work. It wasn't working, so we need some sort of food.
Well, but 20 years ago was a different time. I mean, like,
But there's been, I don't know, it's such a, we're so centrally located, somebody would have put residential where with it.
Oh, yeah, it's 2006 for sure. We missed all the multifamily development on 36th Street.
Yeah.
They were going.
had it
up
not been in
as well.
place, there would
That's
have been
fine.
residential there.
I
Huh?
think we missed out on corporate office, corporate space. We have companies moving to South Florida. More and more, that's what I read in the paper.
You could put
Why not?
offices there.
Office is
Community
corporate.
vote
I mean, on the
there.
weekends, it's not impactful, Monday through Friday, really, but we missed out on corporate headquarters.
But look, at the end of the day, it went to
said out
vote
there.
and the community voted. So the community at the time, that's what they said, and we lived by that decision.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're gonna do the same now.
Right.
The people need to go up and speak up and not stay in the sidelines and, you know, have a part of it. But, so,
And- Through the chair, and how is this gonna help our tax base if something passes in Tallahassee? You know, what are we looking at? I mean.
Well, I can't tell you how,
Yeah.
you know, how significant or how much this is gonna generate. I don't know. Because it's, let's say it passes tomorrow. We won't, it'd be 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years down the road before we even see some benefit out of this. Possibly. And it all depends on the market, you know, if somebody comes in and does
well,
the project.
rental building is a commercial building. They're gonna be taxed accordingly.
The
There's
one-
not a homesteaded property, so.
The one thing I will say is the state in what I've noticed in the state in their discussions as far as property tax reform, it seems to penalize those with high homesteaded percentages, right? So us, Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest, we're all on the high end. We have, I mean, and the city, and these are in the Miami Shores, these are cities that have worked very hard to maintain the small town feel, a high level of services for the residents. And really kind of put development kind of like at bay saying, hey, we don't need it. We have this core that we have as far as single family homes or the small community. But the city seems, I mean, the state seems to be, you know, at least what is coming out of there, penalizing us for that. So cities like Doral, Hialeah, they've said it publicly. We don't care. We don't mind about what the state's gonna do. Because they have, their tax base is very diversified, very, very diverse. They'll have a lot of commercial, a lot of building. If you look at Hialeah right now, there's construction up and down Okeechobee Road and next to the racetrack along West Fourth Avenue, where my parents lived, where I grew up. All that is where the kennel used to be. That's all apartment buildings. So it's completely, the Amelia district, they call it. It's completely changed. So, yeah, this is what's frustrating, because I see what what this city has worked so hard to protect. But then the state has their priorities. The state has to look at the overall health of the state. Tourism, they encourage businesses, encourage residential, new residents to come in. They have a housing crisis. So all the things that we've done, all the measures that we've taken to protect the state, if you've noticed over the years, they come in and they're chipping away at those. Including simple things as landscaping, right? The city wants to, we want to protect our canopy. And we have a strict ordinance prohibiting people from cutting down trees, and you have to replace them and cut them down. But the state passed a law some years ago saying, if you get a certified arborist to say that tree on your property needs to come down, no permits, no nothing, you cut it down. The state also wants to, you know, they support tourism, right? That's a major thing. We don't want vacation rentals. Guess what? We do, and you're gonna allow them. you wanted, like the referendum that the mayor mentioned. You got the residents here want to pass a referendum to prohibit, to limit zoning or to put restrictions on the zoning. To prohibit, make some overdevelopment or whatever is perceived as overdevelopment. The state said, no, you can't do that anymore. That's illegal. That action, that vote that they took back in 2006, they can't do it today. So we have to do something because I fear that something will be done for us. And that's, I mean, I've been doing this a long time in my gut and I've told you guys from the beginning, hey, the state's gonna do something, the state's gonna do something. And they're doing something.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just see it as such a clear case. I mean, we know what we're dealing with that area. If you had, so like, there isn't, well, we're not discouraging development. You've got a 6-story building, I think, in Miami Realtors. Got the Miami Regional University there. That's like, we've got buildings. If we just encouraged a couple projects, like an 8-story building that had residential, like 20 years ago when they did this, the market was different. In the last 20 years, we've seen in terms of like mixed use developments, people want to come home from work and then like, walk somewhere, go somewhere and have like, and not have to like go brave and go into Doral or whatever. Like if we just had a couple of projects with some residential density, then you've got the, like a Talking Tacos, so you got like people will walk around. Like right now at this time, walking around there is nothing. There's nothing. Everything is shut down because it's just, that is what we have created. I don't see how anybody who is being reasonable can tell me that a district that 20 years ago, okay, felt like we should allow 4 stories and 12 stories, and to take the biggest market now, and especially in the last 20 years in residential, and just cut it off at the knees and put it at 3 stories. You're basically that you create and encourage what has developed there based on what we are like arbitrarily like it's onerous for just that particular use. And I feel like, again, it's imbalanced. I don't think that it's balanced. I think it was a short-sighted decision at that time to do it. Everywhere else, it will remain in place. But like, look, lots of discussion. There's lots of things that still have to be figured out, right? But like, I feel like it's going to be hard. Everybody's going to be a yes. I feel if we just decide to, let's restore how it is for every other building, right, that are going up. Like again, like I mentioned, the Wyndham Gardens doing another tower. I mean, let's restore it the way it was, and see how that works. We got it hasn't been working the last 20 years. I don't think. I think that we need to allow some residential in there, and I think that we will. People will be curious and concerned about how we do it, but if you assure them this is the limits, so there was a limit before, it'll be the limit going forward, this is the boundaries, we're not going to bait and switch you, and like I think that everybody will allow us the freedom to try out this market. Guys, we are stewards. We have a council. In the next April, there's going to be a different council. And we talked about how 2-year terms makes it really hard to do big things. Why do you think no one's been able to do this? They've been complaining about that in that area. It was part of the Economic Development Task Force's report. All right. The perfect is the enemy of the good. I think that everybody would get on board, and it'll be easy to communicate. Hey, it's what's there now. It's what was there before. Let's undo this thing that we did in 2006, and it was maybe a little short-sighted.
Undo just in this area.
Yeah, just in that area. The rest of Northwest 36th Street District is still going to have. We're just doing a portion of the Northwest 36th Street, but it's the one most in the easternmost corner. Guess what? It also includes the property on the other side of Lejeune where the Holiday Inn is. Who knows if some development later wants to turn that into some kind of I don't know, but like there is no. I'm telling you. there is development dollars that are looking for places where you could do residential, and a location like ours is worth a lot. And to just arbitrarily be like, hey, no, not residential here, only hotels, and then whatever, commercial, but like that's, and I get it. It has its downsides, I get it. I understood it, I'm sure in 2006. But not now. I think now as we look back, I don't,
And that would include that if we wanted to change anything else on 36th Street besides that zone, it will have to go back to the ballots, to the border, the voters.
if we define the boundaries of Northwest 36th Street, east of East Drive, that's how we've been calling it. The problem is that in our ballot language, it says the Northwest 36th Street, east of East Drive, but a future council could say, well, now we're gonna make everything east of East Drive, the
Yeah.
Northwest 36th Street district, right? So that would be kind of a bait and switch. I think that people are skeptical. I mean, since they passed this 20 years ago, which is kind of onerous, right? I think that people are very skeptical of what unfettered council could do, which is why they put it in place. So if we say east of East Drive, Northwest 36th Street, as it is, and I'll leave the wordsmithing up to the professionals, as it's drawn today, and it'll, and however we would, convey that, because again, the first question people ask, well, how high is it gonna be? How high is it gonna be? How high is it? And then if you say 120, like they don't understand it's easy. We're restoring what it is for everything else that's there. I don't know why we're excluding residential. It's crazy because it's the strongest market. I get it, but like it hasn't worked to its maximum potential. I think that everybody would be on board with restoring that. And guys, I really don't think we'll have to wait very long, right? Because you get a couple like projects and you see that there's interest, you see, hey, there's interest. And then maybe a future council can have a, hey, let's restore from East Drive to South Drive. We won't even go all the way down and see how that works. But like it's incremental and it's baby steps, and we're only 20 years removed from a 2-to-1 vote to put this thing in place in the first place. And unfortunately, this height restriction for residential is what's making everything else basically obsolete. Nothing else can be done in that district. All these ideas we have for how to promote things or whatever, that height restriction is just there arbitrarily. So that's why I feel like we have to be specific. Look, the height restriction will be what it's been and what it's going to continue to be for all buildings, including now residential. And I think that we'll have that, and then we can move forward with everything else that we're trying to do to help the Abraham tract and all of that. But I feel like the genesis of this was always this arbitrary height restriction, and we got to make a decision.
Councilman Dion, just to answer your question, literally, you had, the answer is, I don't know how much that's gonna generate, how much it could possibly generate. But it's better than what we have now.
Yeah,
So it's better than what we have.
and if we lose the money because of the change, it looks like Tallahassee's gonna,
They're gonna
then-
do something. No reason, nothing.
we will lose our services, which we have fought for 100 years to keep, and we continue to
I
fight for.
don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah. Well,
They're gonna be meeting, but
money
if
pays for us.
if what the House passed,
Mm.
which is a complete elimination of ad valorem, we'd be lucky to stay
A city.
a city. Let's put it that way.
And then we won't have a conversation because
We'll be a council. We'll be the
That's
council.
small town
County
feel.
commission.
It might be
The small town
We don't
feel
have
won't
to
be-
Because any company that loses 70% of the revenue.
even after everything we
Goes out
fought
of
for the alleys, to have our utility, garbage trucks.
But the good news is,
Sarah.
I don't know if that's what's gonna pass.
Yeah. And worst case scenario, or best case, right? Like, we want something, because we want some relief. The people want some relief from
Of
their
course,
taxes. I
of
get
course.
it. It's
I'm a homeowner
high.
too. I agree.
So that would be more money for the city, a lower millage rate. And then at that point, if we want to talk about annexation or other things, it'll be attractive, right, to our neighbors
to the
To the west,
unincorporated
or
areas
the
around.
east, yeah.
I think you also, Councilman, bring up a good point, because one of the criticisms levied at the city when we were trying to annex the area west of us was, yeah, show me, what are you doing on 36th Street? Right? Like, we certainly weren't showing, good,
If we handle this.
I think that this is it's restorative in nature. We are not, this isn't an overreach. Okay, and I think that it will provide a proof of concept to kind of see if what the market analysis is telling us is that this will be, a very welcome change. And if that's the case, guys, restore another section in a future council and take it to the voters, and then they'll be like, okay, well, we kind of know what's happening. But like, again, I feel like trying to take too much and then losing it on the election. Then what do you? I mean, I think that would be
Another thing that I think most people are always asking is, well, there's not enough, well, we'll just concentrate on retail. Should just be retail. Well, retail's not coming unless they see this foot traffic there.
Yeah.
They want the options to go, like you said, whether it be another store or any type of retail store or, a pharmacy, whatever it is, very easy for you to ask for that. It needs to make sense. And without some, foot traffic, they can actually go there for sure, and they can do the math. Then they'll take the step to do that. And then we'll all benefit from having another option to go somewhere that we're looking for now. But it's not gonna come without that foot traffic.
Through the chair,
And
and
how did it come in 20 years? Would have come by its own. We didn't restrict retail at all. Well, we did in reference to the single, that's another restriction. They did in reference to restaurants, could have been there on their own, and they made them mixed use. That was a mistake, obviously, in hindsight. But overall, retail has not come in 20 years. So why would it go now? If we didn't have the multifamily component?
through the
Well, the
chair,
economic analysis said that the retail and commercial as a market, they did a market analysis, is strong, but as a like an add-on to something, like piggybacking on something, not just which obviously, like, people ask all the time, why can't you just have like a CVS there? But like, I mean, these companies do the numbers, they see what the density is to support it. If there is if you have that residential density, have a couple storefronts on the ground floor and like a cafe, somebody can walk across to, like, I mean, again, they live there, they're gonna be walking their dogs, like it will make it a more cohesive sense of community in that area. We have, again, arbitrarily excluded a use for all intents and purposes by making this arbitrary 3-story limit in this district that, like, the lowest you could have is 4, right? And we're like, again, that doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it makes sense to anybody who just thinks about it, and especially with the benefit of hindsight of seeing the last 20 years of what's happened. Yeah.
Mayor, so that I can get some direction and bring back something that's hopefully gonna get adopted. I just wanna, so I was listening intently to each of you, and I understood from Mayor and Councilman Santin clearly that you would like to retain the existing height limits of the code. That part was clear. It wasn't quite as clear from the other 3 council members. So I want to clarify first and then seek your feedback. As far as what the existing zoning code says, your zoning code provides that if you are in the Northwest 36th Street District and you want to build a structure that is within 150 feet of an adjacent residential district, it can only go as high as 4 stories or 55 feet. So there's nothing that prevents today a residential building from going to 3 stories, because your charter sets the cap at 3 stories, your zoning code allows you to go to 4 stories. So today, if someone wanted to come in and build a mixed use residential building up to 3 stories within that 150-foot setback, no? Am I? It's not gonna happen, but there's a lot of things that aren't gonna happen, but it could happen. right? Theoretically, on paper. Okay. So what you're doing is adding one floor within that 150-foot buffer. From my perspective, what I would like to know is, do you want the ballot question and or charter language separate from your zoning code to address that buffer and that height limit that's in the buffer? Because what I'm sensing from Councilman Santeen and Mayor is that you would like a question that says the height limit, the current height limit, we keep referring to that, but to me, and probably Sylvia, that can mean very different things. The current height limit, there's a maximum height limit of 120 feet in the district. But I know that there has been this focus more recently on the 55 feet. So do you envision a question that has both heights? Or that somehow encompasses both heights and you somehow retain the 150-foot buffer, which is not what was planned? Alternatively, I would consider presenting a question to the voters, and I'm not going to suggest what that language would look like tonight. But whatever the question is, you will always be able to implement it by your zoning code. And so I'm going to strongly remind you that that is where all of these details should be. They should live in your zoning code. All of that character that's so important and makes Miami Springs what it is, that's in your zoning code. It doesn't need to be drafted today into your charter, because then you will be back here, or your successors will be sitting here trying to find a way to amend it. And so I raised that in part because I want you to give me the feedback, but also because it was clearer from sort of 2/3 of the 1/3 of the dais.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there a way to word the ballot language so that it refers to what the height restrictions as they are now, so that you don't have to say the 150-foot buffer and the 54 stories and 120 is the maximum? Because I think that is what people want to know. How high is it gonna be? And you're gonna come back later and make it unlimited? Or, what's the boundary in question? Or you're gonna come back later, you're gonna change it, and you're gonna double it, like. If the ballot language just refers to restoring what's already, because again, if that ballot language was not in place right now, or what's in the underlying zoning district, the residential is allowed to 4 stories in the 100 and more. So it's already in there.
Mhm.
We are just removing this referendum language, this charter language that's usurping what's already there. So we just have to point to what's already there. It's already, we don't have to say the numbers, we just say that's what it's.
And if we don't say the numbers, I'm sorry, Councilman.
I'm saying, just make it clear right there, and the question is, the height restrictions as exist today will not change.
In the zoning district, in the district's zoning.
That says it, I don't mean,
It's-
it's the
Oh.
same thing.
Yeah,
I mean-
I'm okay with that. I mean, we should be dealing only with the height, not with. every
Right, I mean, that's it,
aspect.
but that's the only thing, that's what's usurping everything,
We
is this
can-
ballot language.
We can try to find some way to write that. My concern is how that would tie us with the 150-foot buffer that exists today, because the height right now, that maximum height is intertwined with that. So could we say something like consistent with the district's maximum height limits as they exist today? Yes, but then you're asking the voters, now you're explaining 2 heights to the voters, potentially.
Yeah, but we just,
So,
look, again,
Hmm?
I think you're gonna garner way more skepticism trying to.
I think sorry, to the chair,
Go ahead.
Mayor, I apologize, to me. I don't, if the concern is for flexibility on this 150 feet, I'm just saying it today, I don't want to change. I want it to be 150 feet. The same rules that we have in place today.
The buffer area.
Well, whatever you want to call it, but it's just
Right.
no different than it's there today. Is that holding us to that? Yes, that's exactly what we want.
Yeah, but we're removing
Future-
the one thing
future-
that's holding us more than anything is
So I'm
not.
saying future generations from now, or councils will come back and we'll have this whole argument again, and say, well, you know, this council decision obviously still limited development because they left that buffer in there. They left, that's fine, but someone else to carry it. We want to make it clear that we don't care. We don't want to, I don't want to move
I-
150 feet.
I'd also like to say that when you look at where the 150 feet, there are parcels
It's a single
where
family.
a portion of it has the 4-story limit, but the others, and again, if you go on, on Google Maps and look at what the Wyndham Garden had 150 feet that they gave, and they were able to build. Now, obviously, a hotel has less parking demand than residential, but I'm just saying, like, it I don't see how anybody would disagree that it probably wasn't a good idea looking back to limit it to 3 stories and basically exclude that one use. But I don't see how it could not make a difference with as starved as this market and we are in South Florida for housing. In where we are located, I don't see how it's this like, oh, well, what's the point of doing it if we're not gonna, there's opportunities there. If 4 stories and 12 stories has got to be better than 3.
hope it's
Okay,
all-
like there's no way
I
that
hope
that's
it's-
not going to encourage more development when it comes to residential.
Through the chair, I think you also understand a hotel. You gotta know a little bit of the feasibility on a hotel and the quality of hotels that we got. And they're bad,
Right,
but there's a certain amount of fares that you could charge.
right,
They know what it is. They have all the studies done.
right.
So that hotel cannot build a 4, we're already seeing it on the Pilot House. Because that's one of their arguments, the 4-story. So the 4-story doesn't make sense. So for an apartment building, for parking,
Sure.
it's more feasible to build a 4-story parking lot or a parking garage to,
Right.
justify the apartments.
Just because there's an area of your property that is within the 150-foot zone, doesn't mean that you can't do anything there. Means that you can only go up 4 stories in that area of your property, but everywhere else within the area we're talking about, like, you can go up 12 stories. Like, that's got to provide flexibility. Like, again, what is completely inflexible is saying, basically, yeah, we no residential in it. We'll just have commercial that closes at 5 o'clock and hotel. And, so.
Mayor, so I just want to make sure that
Sorry.
there's consensus from the whole council.
Wait,
Joseph is the top.
okay, so I think what's being asked is, do you want to, for the language in the ballot, to lock us into the boundaries and height restrictions as we ask for them to exempt this area from the height restriction? Right? I think the question is, what's this area? How do I know what the area is? And how do I know what the height limit is gonna be, since you're asking to be exempted from it? So do you want us to memorialize that as part of the ballot language or not? I guess is what she's asking.
So like the ballot, so when you brought up the thing about the initiative in 2006. We can't say on the ballot, we revert back to pre-2006. We can't say that because no one understands what that was before. But so the language has to clearly explain.
Because it's still in place. All the zoning is still in
But
place
there's a cap imposed.
on the charter side.
Right, so we can't, the ballot doesn't say to remove that cap.
No, the ballot says we're going to exempt from the charter limit. And they can find a way to make it so that it refers to what it is now and that's what it'll be. So the question, so here's the thing. Are you for or against making the ballot language in a way that it tells people, the voters, that this is what you're voting for and it won't change. Like you're,
Yeah, I mean.
are you okay with that? Yes or no? Is the
I'm
question.
okay with it. I'm okay with it because, you know, assuming we're going to have workshops and we'll have maps and we can really
Of course,
get the message out there.
right.
We can't print a map on a ballot, fortunately, but we're going to do a due diligence and get the message out there. Look, everyone, this is it, just this.
Yeah.
It's not condos on the golf course, it's not that, it's this. Sure. All right, go with it.
Vice Mayor,
Yeah, I agree.
you agree?
Yeah, people should know exactly what they're getting.
Okay.
I
Absolutely.
agree.
Okay, all right. Well, if that's the case, then I think that answered that one. I think that we wanna.
My follow-up question is, there had been some discussion about the defining the area. We've been referring to it as east of East Drive in the Northwest 36th Street District. I know some of you wanted to give it a name. We can do that. I would just like to know if there's consensus for that. And
Through the chair, so I've been thinking like about, I mean, I understand Sylvia's Southeast Springs, but okay, throw it out to like Centennial District, like Curtis District, Aviator or Aviation District, something. I'm trying to tie it in somewhere to the history, aviation, East Drive District. I was just kind of trying to think
Maybe,
at that point.
let me just
But
chime
I
in a
think
second.
it's, we're not there yet.
We are eventually going to create a new district by ordinance, correct? That the plan was that we would treat the Northwest 36th Street as three distinct, areas that have their own character and in this one, right, that for a while was called Zone 3, but we haven't given it a name. And I think that trying to give it a name at the end of the day, we're going to have to create a new district and we're going to have to do everything on the ordinance side that needs to happen. It's just the albatross, okay, around our neck is the charter language. I feel like if we try giving the district a name, it's gonna sound like nobody's gonna know what are we gonna call, like it seems giving at the end of the day, the Northwest 36th Street, east of East Drive within that district, as it is drawn today, the boundaries,
Well,
that's here,
I like,
Sure.
south.
does it have to be done?
huh?
That's the whole point, whether the name or it has to be drawn before the ballot goes there. That has to be clear.
But I just worry about agreeing on the name before we have to turn in the ballot language in the next couple of weeks, when again, at the end of the day, we're just like, I feel like that's gonna be a huge distraction. I think that
I'm
we
not,
just need to identify
The
it.
chair.
I'm not suggesting we
Yeah.
need to have a name. I just know I received feedback that there were some of you who wanted to give it a name at this point. So if there's not consensus to give it a name and we want to continue to refer to it as east of East Drive in the Northwest 36th Street zoning district, that's fine.
Through the chair. I think Southeast Springs is naturally like it identifies the area in two, pretty much 3 words. And it just, like it could give an idea to where people are going, unless saying Southeast Springs takes away from 36th Street, then because that's the area that we're focusing on, then I will be against it. But Southeast Springs, I mean,
But
you
this
say
whole,
South Beach and you think of,
this whole,
Like
the whole area
project,
is
this whole
something, right?
project was referred
no,
to
I'm
as.
not saying South.
Activate
Wanted to
36th
clarify
Springs.
that
I feel
the-
like it's
yeah.
just gonna be a distraction.
Okay.
the brand Southeast Springs
Yeah.
is part of the project. Activate Southeast Springs, and it was the entire Northwest 36th Street corridor, not just that area,
And.
as well as the Abraham Tract. So, what we were looking for, what I was looking for was actually to, once we split it into the smaller pieces, each with its own character, each one has its own identity that is branded in a different way. And whether that happens now or later, I've said it many times, I'm not in marketing. So,
I'm really looking forward to having this firm on board so that I can bounce ideas off of them and they can tell me, you know, no, you're crazy. We should go with this other name. But we're not there yet for those smaller areas, only for the larger area.
I just feel like giving it a name is irrelevant. What matters is if we don't get an exemption from the 3-story limit in the charter, then everything else is.
But I,
So,
to the chair, I think that I believe that if you don't make it clear by August, that it's just east of East Drive,
right,
it ain't gonna go.
right.
You need to be clear. So the boundary with a name, okay, fine, we don't have to make a name, but we better be very clear what this east of East Drive is. That boundary better be super clear.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got.
I mean, now we're gonna defeat the purpose of it too.
When you have this conversation looking at a map, it makes it so much richer, the conversation, because you're like looking at it and you're seeing what's being affected, right? The problem is we got to have ballot language ready in a couple of weeks, and they need direction on how to
Okay.
write it. So I think, you know,
Through the chair,
I'm just saying,
city
boundaries have
manager,
to be-
so, this company that was gonna handle at least the messaging, do they do focus groups? Do they organize focus groups?
Yeah, I believe the proposal has meetings, like focus group meetings and like.
Could,
town hall.
could we use focus groups to gauge different names? Throw it out there and see how they feel about how they respond to that?
I could.
Maybe, I mean, again, to his point, maybe it's a little premature now, because we really want to get something on a ballot, but.
I could set up I could set up a meeting for this, or maybe even Wednesday. And we can reach out to them tomorrow, and we can meet with them. So that,
To the chair. So have we already stricken a deal with this company? or-
well, yeah.
I know we're waiting for the
No,
contract.
council approved it. Council approved it last week, not last meeting. And what we're doing now is drafting the agreement so we can sign and execute. But you guys have authorized me to negotiate and
Yeah.
execute.
I figured that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Like, what's going on? Why is it on hold?
No, it's
Because
not
it's
a hold.
too
It's
big.
actually
Yeah.
the agreement's being drafted.
Okay,
But the conversations change depending on what your intent is and what the direction you give us today
okay.
can, make the conversation a little different.
They need to get to Heidi so she can get clarification from all of us. What we want to do.
say that again.
She has another question. For that ballot question.
Heidi, you have another question?
By the way, thank you, Heidi.
I don't normally get this much input, but I want to make sure we can advance the ball.
Yeah, it's a big deal here.
Okay, so we're gonna include something as to the existing height. I'm not gonna provide language, I'm not even gonna say a word about it
Yeah,
right
don't-
now.
Draft on the dais.
I don't do that. And then as far as the description of the area, we'll stick with east of East Drive in the Northwest 36th Street District. And remember, your marketing is on the overall
Right, right.
Activate Southeast Springs project. This is one piece of that. And the marketing can, can obtain feedback on this and other aspects. And you can find out what the people like to call zone 3 versus zone 1. So we'll leave it as that, east of East Drive.
Let me ask you a question, but as a campaign, we can still, mention, when you're talking about all areas of southeast, but to clarify, you can't clarify that it's east of East Drive, this is what we're talking about.
The way you've been describing it this whole time has been,
Okay. I'm talking about the firm,
You're
Right.
talking about,
the firm that we're thinking of hiring. They can't make reference to east of East Drive?
why wouldn't they
They
be
can't.
able to?
Yeah, they can, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I'm, and what the boundaries are and so.
So you've already approved them.
Yeah.
There was a contract in your agenda packet.
I got that.
And at this point, it's the business terms that are being renegotiated due to the feedback that was received at the last meeting.
The change.
So that's separate and apart from this, but yes, they can give you feedback and there's no reason that they wouldn't be able to ask those questions.
Okay.
I know, they can also, highlight each district, like the east of each, they'll talk about everything.
we'll be meeting with them as well.
Yeah, I can set that up.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Well, there's one more thing. Were you asking
About,
about the language on how to, like in reference, he mentioned, you know, for concern for public concerns, safety,
addressing, public safety and, aging in place.
at least safety is more concerning.
Yeah, but I thought in our briefings that,
So if I
You
may.
have it now.
For the last meeting, what we had was language, and I can read you what we had. We did add some of the legislative intent that you were requesting about revitalizing the district and I think we wrote something as to the effect of attracting investment, revitalizing the area, things like that. I don't have the language. I'm not used to being disconnected from my computer when I'm speaking to you. So we did add some of that. Remember, we are still working with the 75 word limit. So now we're gonna be adding potentially language about your existing zoning code and tying it to your existing height. So if we can find a way to add additional legislative intent, we can try. And I've briefed you all on how legislative intent is looked at by the courts. So we're balancing all of these different things.
Sorry, Mayor. What you brought up was, she's saying tying into existing zoning, et cetera. What you propose is just undoing what was done. Right?
And
What's-
to that point, before you answer, Ms. Vargas did, or our city planner did mention to me, the legislative history for the Northwest 36th Street zoning code reflects that it was adopted in 2011. The charter amendment was done in 2006. So I don't want to get ahead of, I am getting ahead of the mayor's response to you, Vice Mayor, but I don't think that we are per se reverting back to something. We are lifting a restriction that's in place that's limiting development in this part of the city.
right, and letting it default to what is in place.
Currently in place, right?
Right.
I don't think we need to talk about
Yeah.
2006 right
Yeah.
now or
It
anything.
doesn't matter. It's what's in place now.
What I am taking away tonight is that the five of you would like a question that asks the voters to remove the height restriction from the charter, subject to,
For that area.
in that area, east of East Drive. Everything I'm talking about is just east of East Drive in the Northwest 36th Street zoning code.
Yep.
We are lifting the restriction to allow residential buildings subject to the height limitations that are currently in the zoning code.
addressing public safety.
And
You gotta be careful.
if we can,
By having the word.
if we can address, if we have the space to address some further legislative intent, we will do our best.
Thank you.
Okay.
Think. I think they've got direction. Okay, all right, so that brings an end to that discussion. And I'd like to recognize, because the Purvis family is here. Guys, you want to just come up to the front and we have another 100-year-old home. Sorry that you guys had to sit through that discussion.
Sorry if you were big train had a flat tire.
All right. Come on up. All right, so come up here. So your house was built in 1925. So that's 218 Springs Avenue. Come on up, grab this. Tell us about your home, how long you've lived there. Just tell us a little bit about your home and why you're.
Almost 20 years.
Go ahead, grab the mic, grab the mic.
Been there almost 20 years. I've lived in the Springs for 40 and it squeaks.
Yeah, it sure does.
But I love my house.
All right,
You
awesome.
know, it's very unique. I try to keep it somewhat to its original historical value. You know, you had to do some stuff because it's
Yeah.
100 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for preserving it for us.
Thank you.
Let's take a picture real quick. And you're gonna be getting a yard sign that you could proudly display out front.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Glad we were able to give that to them. Okay, so we move on to reports and recommendations. We will begin with our esteemed city attorney.
In your inbox, you have an email from me about an appellate case that we've been handling this morning. So I gave you that news on Friday. This morning, the petitioner in that case, the property owner, has requested that the court revisit its decision. So we will continue to keep you apprised, but for those who didn't get a chance to see the email, we were able to get a victory for the city last week on a code enforcement case. Where a resident had received a violation, was found guilty of violating the code, and then appealed to the Circuit Court's Appellate Division, and so we defended it. The court dismissed the case last week, and so if there's further developments, we will let you know. There's a few other cases out there, very, very few cases that are being handled by us as Insurance Defense Counsel for the city. But that's it for now.
Good, thank you. All right, moving on, city manager.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Real quick, I did want to provide an update to the council, in particular, Councilman Lamas, who asked me for an update regarding the parking, to bring it back to the council, this week. After the last meeting, we met with staff and we talked about, you know, what we can do as far as parking along Westwood Drive, and throughout the district as well. The police department had reached out to Isaac Academy. I mean, it just happened right after the meeting. And they started parking in their parking lot behind. They stopped parking along. They told the teachers not to park along, or staff to park on Westward, and they've been doing that. It has improved. It has alleviated some of the stress that it was causing. The other thing that we also looked at is we met with Public Works, and then taking inventory of all the city-owned lots, the one behind Starbucks, the one behind here and behind the post office. I asked Public Works, I want to see a layout to see if we can maybe maximize the space and squeeze as much space as possible. To be honest, the parking lots, they could use some asphalt because they're not in the best shape. I'm a little embarrassed to say they don't look good. So we gotta invest a little money there. But while we're in the process of investing, I want to see if we can maximize the space there. And then the other area that we want to invest money in and we received money for is Canal Street. Obviously, I'll wait until construction is done so we can do that there. I say that because before we implement a permit process, like a resident, not a resident, but a business permit, we need to identify the zones where we can send people to park. Because the parking decal is not gonna let you just park the car bunch wherever you want. So we have to maximize and improve what we have to offer. And then we can, if the council chooses at that time, we can make those parking lots so the decal parking and the employees can park there. That's ideally keeping Westward free.
Are we still waiting on the 3-hour signs to?
Yeah, I asked Juan to pull them down, and I apologize, I asked Juan to pull them down. And then we'll get the new ones put up. All right, so that's what I have right now. As we get more information and I have a better plan, a layout and cost to do the parking lots, I'll bring that to the future council meeting.
All right.
All right.
Assistant City Manager?
A couple of quick things. Just want to take a second to recognize some of our departments that did a wonderful job this weekend at the regatta. Also, want to thank Lynn Brooks and Tom Hudson for putting it on. It was a great event. Our police department did an amazing job. I was out there a good portion of the weekend. And Public Works this morning, I went to get a cup of coffee at 6:30. And unless you saw the blue garbage cans, you would have noticed that we had an event. It was amazing. And our Parks Department also did a 5K, so I just want to give Adam Boy here at the meeting, so they did a wonderful job. And sometimes that stuff doesn't really go noticed, but I noticed it this morning. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Okay, city clerk.
No report this evening, sir.
All right. Okay, so city council. Santino, start C1. Go.
Well, same thing, as our city manager just mentioned, it was a great weekend. I think the event went well. Everybody worked well together. Obviously, all our departments did an amazing job, as always. That's never changed, to be honest with you. But did have a nice feel for it. At least I enjoyed it. You know, whether the crowds are as big as others have been in the past, I'm not sure. I was happy. I don't really need that many people around me, but overall, I thought it was a great crowd. And it definitely had that community feel that we've been wanting. So to me, it was kudos to everybody, including obviously Lynn Brooks, Tom, and the administration for getting it where we got. And then that's it for right now. I think we got Centennial. We have everything's going forward. Unfortunately, those that missed the exhibit in the first floor of the airport, it's no longer there. We're trying to see if we can find another home in the airport. The Greater Miami is working hard because they were super disappointed that it was only up there for 2 months. But the other exhibit is still up there and on J International Concourse. And the next centennial event will be a library event the day of the birthday for Glenn Curtis. And what else we got? Oh, sorry, we got the golf tournament, June 5th, Centennial Golf Tournament. And then, of course, you know, August 22nd will be around the corner where the not just our community, will be proud standing there next to it, but all of South Florida and beyond, I hope, will be able to get a chance to see the statue and the monument, the Junebug monument. It's going on according to schedule, as Public Works is really deep into that process, and we're so far hitting all the timelines that are in place. So it's not expecting any surprises. August 22nd, we should be able to enjoy it.
So I'd also like to say thank you to our police, Public Works, Lynn Brooks and Tom Hunchins on a great job with organizing the River Cities Festival. I've heard a lot of great things, and it's like if nothing happened right now, everything is clean. We stayed safe. So thank you guys. I'd also like to let everybody know that the Miami Springs Senior High football team has hired T.Y. Hilton, as we've heard, and he's hosting a fundraiser at the golf course on May 8th. And you could get in touch with me, or you could get in touch with the high school if you have any questions about it. Let's support our local football team. And that's it. I would like to congratulate Mikey on his sermon yesterday as well. Congratulations.
All right. Vice Mayor?
Thank you to everyone that participated in the festival and all who came out. Great, one of the many great things that we have here.
Awesome.
I want to thank Juan and his team at Public Works for filling that massive pothole in front of Papa John's. That's deep. That was a deep hole. But thank you for filling that, what you did. I noticed the red reflectors on the poles on Curtis Parkway as you were driving. I guess that was the county that put those.
No, the red reflectors are us.
All right, because I keep bothering you about the one-way drivers.
And just to give you an update, and
I stand out, if I'm out there and I have my phone, I will see someone going the wrong way on Curtis Parkway, and I just go, oh my God, there's gonna be a head-on collision one day.
as you and I had discussed, I know we know there's an issue there as far as people coming and getting onto Curtis Parkway and they make the wrong turn because it's such a wide, they don't realize that it's the following one where they can make a left. So they'll make a left and they'll go the wrong way. Spoke with Juan about it, and he's like, listen, to do thermoplastic on every intersection there to show the arrows, it's a little expensive. And he was gonna reach out to the county. So I'll let you know what they say. but they've been very open.
Appreciate that. I wanted to say thank you to the scouts, 2334, for cleaning up on Saturday morning the canal. They got bright and early on the canoes and kayaks. They do that every year. And I want to congratulate the team from the River Cities Regatta, who came through and put on this great 3-day community event. And I have this proclamation that I've been showing around my house, bragging people for me, but it's not.
Nice.
This was given by the county commissioner for the regatta. Where does this, who do I give this to? Well, I'll pass it. Go ahead. Care to Erica?
Yeah.
Or do I share?
Okay.
You guys want to see it? All right.
I saw when they gave it to us.
All right, there we go. That's true. They're all up there, except, no, you weren't there and,
You want it, Mike?
Councilman Dion was it. Okay. We saw Victor Vasquez, Dr. Victor Vasquez there. He showed up Saturday night with his wife and son, and it was great to see him and see how he's doing. It's so positive to talk to him, and keep going, Victor. You're doing great. And I need to mention that the Miami Springs Women's Club is having their spaghetti dinner fundraising Friday, April 24th, Arbor Day, from 5 to 7 p.m. Then the next day on Saturday, they're having another meeting of their garden club. Both events are open to the public. So the garden club is tied into the new park across from the library. So they have a lot of wonderful things in store for that little park over there. So that's it for me.
All right. Okay, so yeah, the great event this weekend. I think that it was good to see some things that it was nostalgic to see the fishing tournament again. Because those of us that grew up in the Springs, we remember it. The chili cook-off was back. Alliance Club with help from Troop 334 did a big cleanup that weekend. There was a 5K. Police, Public Works, Parks and Recs, everybody came together. There was a very robust kids zone that I had gotten feedback about those three things in particular: the kids zone and the fishing tournament and the chili cook-off. And all three of those things came back. And I got great feedback from residents because I was there I was there all 3 days. So it was a great event and happy to have it. And we're looking forward to August 22nd when we go to actually turn 100 and have a big party. So more information about that to follow. Okay, so having said all that, this council meeting is adjourned at 9:17. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Erica, I'm wrong again. I thought the meeting would end at 8:30.